Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Private Investigator Advice Podcast. My name is Andrew. I am the host of this podcast. I'm also the owner of piadvice.net, Fortified Investigative Services at fortifiedis.com. I'm a investigator out here in Washington. I make videos and podcasts, and I write articles to help you as a private investigator be better, more informed, and to even provide information out to new people that are interested in being a private investigator. With that being said, the sponsor of this podcast is Audible. Audible is the place to get your audio books, your digital media for books, where you can listen to books on your phone or your iPod or your iPad or whatever digital device you have. Audible is giving away a free book. And all you have to do is go to www.audibletrial.com/PIA to let them know that you found them from me, and get your free book. And if you don't like it, you go ahead and cancel the service. You didn't pay anything. I think it's like 30 days, so double check that. And you get to keep the book. So what a great deal, huh? Anyways, so this podcast is 8 insightful reasons to join the Private Investigator Association and why I no longer belong to one. And this all kind of came up from, I think at the time that I wrote this, I was like deciding that I wasn't going to be a part of a PI association anymore. And also I had received an email from somebody. And this is what they say. Hey, Andrew, I wanted to get your thoughts on the usefulness of joining PI associations like USA PI or a state association. A majority of the ones that I find don't seem to update information on their sites. I just started my company recently. I was wondering if it benefits me to join these, either for more network options or for the client wow factor of being a member of these associations. For starters, when you start a business, I applaud you. I think having your own business is really one of the main ways to make life-changing money in this industry. It's very difficult to make a great deal of money when you're working for somebody else. And so anyways, I joined my association. I think I want to say shortly after I started my business. And one of the reasons why I joined is I wanted to join for like networking opportunities. I also joined because there was a woman named Linda Montgomery who I had to go through a training class with when I got my Washington private investigator license to work under a company. And she's a very knowledgeable, intelligent woman, especially in this industry. And so I respected her a great deal and thought that, okay, yeah, it would be a good idea to join an association. So what I did was I paid my $100 and I got a book with a list of all the investigators listed in the association, what they specialized in, and their contact information, which was all very cool. I also got my business listing on their website, the Wally website, and I also got there was a few investigators, a part of the association, that would provide, email tips. Like they'd email and say, hey, just some tips, or they'd tell maybe a story. And I really enjoyed it. And there were a few times that I had questions that I just didn't know the answer to. And I'd throw that out there and I'd get some responses, and I was very pleased with that. They also did conferences 2 times a year. I think it's one in Seattle and one in Spokane. I never went to the Spokane one. I did go to one in Seattle. So they provided that, and because you're a member, you get a discount to go to these conferences. And they had, usually most of the time it was guest speakers from the people in the industry or in the association. A lot of times they'd bring people from the outside as well, which was very cool. What else? And then over time, what I noticed was, when I first got in, they had these, great people in the, I think they call them officers or whatever in the association. And then over time, what I noticed is, people would provide like tips and stuff like that. And there'd be always like a couple people that would bitch about getting too many emails. And I think, in my opinion, I think basically they wanted that email list to only be if you were referring an assignment or something to that effect. Well, for the number of new business owners, yeah, that's great. But we also really want, tips and hints and things like that. And it kept happening. It kept happening, kept happening, kept happening. And also the conferences each year they seem to be less useful, at least to me. It wasn't the good speakers that they had originally started off with, and I was like, the discount that I was getting wasn't much more than somebody who didn't belong to the association. And so with that happening, I ended up eventually, deciding to step away from it. But so anyways, let me get into some reasons that there's some benefits to it. All right. So I wrote a nice little potential list of benefits for you. And I'll go off the numbers here. Number one, you might get a listing for your company in the association website. Now, the association website probably has some good link juice, which means it might boost your listing for your business up in the search history or search results. Well, before I say that, it also, if anybody goes the association list, your website will be on there, and you could potentially get someone to come to your website and hire you for something by going there. I think that only happened to me twice in 4 years. I can't remember. So that was number one. Back to number two, the backlink from authoritative website, which I was just talking about. I kind of jumped ahead. If they list your website on their site, there's a potential boost in your website rankings. Number three, networking possibilities. You can be able to potentially network with other people in your area. So you can provide, maybe you get hints from people you can trust, or maybe they refer you cases, things like that. That's all very good stuff. Maybe you find out new other business opportunities. All very good stuff. If you are worried about making connections across the country and things like that, there's always, associate or kind of like Yahoo groups where you can, there's other investigators in groups on Yahoo for private investigators. Number four, having the association push or lobby for local and nationwide laws that benefit you. There are associations that do that. I don't know a great deal about it. I don't know that all associations participate in that, but that's supposed to be one of the benefits. Number five, having investigators share local tips and tricks for your state, like I kind of mentioned before a little bit. The people have been working in whatever state you're in, they might know little tricks and tips that might help you when finding information or where to go that you might not have thought of. So that's another benefit. Number six, being able to say you are associated with a PI association. Now, what I found, in my opinion, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. No one's ever called me and be like, "Oh, I saw that you were associated to, WALI, the Private Investigator Association in Washington." It never did anything for me. No one ever hired me because I had a WALI logo, the Washington Association of Legal Investigators, on my website. They don't ever hired me for that. Maybe they will for you, but nobody seemed to care. But maybe it works for you. Number seven, possible discounts to programs. Not every association has this, but I noticed a few when I was kind of learning about some different associations. For instance, one association I found, you can get discount on car rental, things like that. So that's kind of cool. And number eight, you get the occasional case referral possibility. Sometimes investigators in the association don't want to work the case, or that it's out of their element or something to that effect. And they will say, "Hey, I've got a case. I don't want it," or whatever, email me. And, if you're interested in this file. And so that's another bonus if it does happen. When it's good years, there's a lot of those. Sometimes, and then some years where there's hardly anybody in the association referring anything, at least not publicly in the email server. Okay, with that being said, I before even signing up for an association, I would recommend if they'll allow you to, because I know that the Wally in Washington did. If you're trying to figure out if this is something you're interested in, you can go to one of their meetings. You want to go ahead and contact them ahead of time and find out where they are, and see if you can sit in on one. If it's okay to do so, and then you can kind of see what happens, if there's any benefit in it for you. I know that some people have done it. I remember going to an association meeting one time, and it was my first one, and they had encouraged the new business owners to come, and the newest anybody who just recently signed up for the association to come, because they're going to have like an open talk after they did like business stuff there. And I remember sitting next to a guy who wasn't a part of it, but he had said that it was okay to come and check it out to see if he was even interested. And so, yeah, I think that's, if you can do that, that'll save you some time. Or, listen, I mean, if you just don't know, if you just can't evaluate them properly enough to figure out, if that's going to be a good thing for you, pay the $100. And after a year, whatever the cost is, and after a year, if it's no good, if it's just not for you, then, you just don't renew, and it's not a big deal. And maybe, in that time, you can make some friends and pick up a few tips and tricks. I think an association could be valuable for some people if it's the right situation, if it's the right association, if you really take advantage of what they allow you to do, right? Kind of like I said before, the investigators and the association, when I was a part of it, it's been a couple of years now, I think, since I've stepped away from it. It was really weird. It was just a really weird situation. It was like they put the wrong people in charge of, like, there was a vice president or whoever was in charge, like the email server was like really anal about things. And it was like, I got to the point where, for me, being a part of associations, why am I paying this money? Like, there's not much benefit for me anymore. People can't even provide, at the time they couldn't even provide advice on the email server, because there was some anal guy who was in charge of it that apparently, like I said, only wanted like case referrals, and those don't happen all the time. And there was something about, like, I'm getting too many emails, or something like that. It was just so ridiculous. Like, I was like, it felt like kindergarten, like it was just silly. And so I was just, I'm like, what am I wasting my time for? Like, there's the right people aren't in charge of this association anymore, and it's just getting silly. So that's when I just like, okay, there's no more value for me. If I want to go to in Washington, if I want to go to one of these conferences, I might pay $20 or $30 more. Well, whatever. That's fine. For me though, I just didn't get out of it what I needed to. And maybe I could have been more active in the association. I just didn't have time for that. And so, yeah, anyways, that's why I stepped away. I'm definitely interested in your thoughts on associations, any good experiences you've had with them, any ones in particular you think are good. What you can do is go to this article. I will post it in the podcast notes and the video notes. Also, I will post a link to the Audible trial. If you're interested in that, in the notes for the video and for the podcast. So if you're in the podcast, you're looking at your phone or whatever, just go ahead and go to the show notes and it'll have links to that in there. Again, comment in the Facebook or comment in the article. There probably will be more value in the article if you post in that of what your experiences are with your association, whether you think it's worth it or not. I'm definitely interested. I'm doing some more research on different associations and, kind of see what each one provides. And this guy's right. Some of them don't update at all. Like, it's like they just put it up there, and I'm not quite sure what the association's doing anymore because they don't. And I'm not talking about Wally. Like, just generally speaking, there's some associations that just take your money, and I'm not quite sure what, if it's for the networking opportunity. Well, you can network many different ways now without being a part of an association. So, what other thing are these associations doing on your behalf in the industry? Like, why are you paying this money? So think about that. Let me know what you think about yours. And listen, it's great talking to you today. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Again, you have any other questions, go ahead and let me know. Other than that, I will see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned.